Today's video is on complex numbers. This is section 6.8. Complex numbers are going to be very similar in concepts that we have been doing before. Let's do some examples, and we're going to do two side by side. Let's do 4 plus 3i plus 5 minus 6i. And let's do another example right next to it. 4 plus 3i minus 5 minus 6i. On the plus problem, we'll do that first. We really don't need these parentheses, so we can just change it. 4 plus 3i plus 5 minus 6i. And then it's a matter of combining like terms. We have a 4 and a 5, that's 9. We have a 3i and a negative 6i, that's negative 3i. On the right side, this minus distributes and changes both sides, or both signs, of what's inside that second parenthesis. So it's 4 plus 3i minus 5 plus 6i. And again, we're going to combine like terms. 4 minus 5, negative 1. 3i plus 6i is a plus 9i. Two examples down. That was add, subtract. Let's look at multiply. 2 plus 6i parentheses 5 minus 4i. What do we do when we have parentheses, parentheses? FOIL. We have to remember that this multiplying requires FOIL. So first means 5 times 2, that is 10. Outer means 2 times negative 4i, that's negative 8i. Inner means 6i and 5, that's positive 30i. And 6i for the last, and negative 4i is negative 24i squared. In the middle, we get 22i, and at the end, negative or subtract 24i squared turns into positive 24. Why does that sign change? Well, because I squared is the same as negative 1. And a negative 24 times a negative 1 is a positive 24. So that gives me 34 plus 22i because of the 10 and the 24. What if instead of writing two parentheses, they give me a parentheses squared? That means write it twice. And again, we have to FOIL. 3 times 3, 9. Outers, 15i. Inners, 15i. Lasts, positive 25i squared. Combine the outer and inners to get 30i. And the last term, again, 25i squared turns into minus 25. So when we combine for our answer, negative 16 plus 30i. Let's do a couple fractions. 15 over 2 minus I. Well, we cannot have an I in the denominator because we know that I means the square root of negative 1, and we cannot have square roots in our denominator. So we need to multiply by the conjugate. So we take our denominator, but we have to change the sign. Remember to do this. Sometimes we messed up on previous quizzes. So since in our problem it's a minus, in our conjugate it's a plus. The top, or the numerator, requires that we distribute 30 plus 15i. In the bottom, technically, we have to FOIL, but we should remember that when we use a conjugate, we don't need the O and the I. We just need the F and the L. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative I times positive I is negative I squared. My top will remain the same. What about my bottom? Well, if we wrote it out, and I'm going to do it on the side here, and do it on the bottom. 4 minus I squared, that's like 4 minus negative 1, that's like 4 plus 1, or 5. Now we can see we can GCF factor in the numerator, and those 5's cancel. So my final answer, 6 plus 3i. Let's try one more like that. 10 over 1 plus 7i. Again, we cannot have a square root in the denominator, and I is a square root, and we change the sign with our conjugate. Distribute up top. I don't know why it did that. On the bottom, again, we don't need the O and the I of FOIL. 1 times 1 is 1. 7i times negative 7i is negative 49i squared. We should have the hang of what happens with the denominator. 1 minus 49i squared is like 1 plus 49, or just 50. And it looks like we're going to do some more GCF factoring in the numerator. And 10 and 50 reduced to 1 and 5. So final answer, 1 minus 7i over 5. And those are complex numbers, and they're not complex at all.